Good morning. Good morning. It's Spill the Tea Tuesday. I'm so excited you're here today. Today I have with me Kelly. Kelly is also a quantum coach, a world-class quantum coach. She specializes in somatic body and unconscious mind work. Her passion's co-creating with people that desire being in the ripple of change they want to see in the world. Welcome, 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 Kelly. I'm so glad you're here today.
Hi, Teresa. I'm so excited for us just to spill the tea and have a great conversation.
I know, I know. How are you this week? How's the tempo? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling really, really good. I just got back from like LA and San Diego. I'm working on something very special right now. So I'm totally in the energy. I'm just on cloud nine in my business right now. I'm so excited.
Oh, that's the best feeling ever. Especially
It,
when you're like getting ready to unravel something and it's like you're working on it behind the scenes and it's like, I don't know, I'm really bad with keeping secrets. So that's the hardest part for me. It's like when I'm working on something behind the scenes, it's like I want to tell everyone and I'm like, no, you have to save it.
I'm like, it's supposed to be a secret. I'm launching it in like a week or so, or at least spilling the tea on it. So I'm like, okay, I got to be kind of quiet.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, so exciting. Okay, so you're a world-class quantum coach. Tell me, what does that mean?
The quantum part or the world class part?
Both.
Well, I went through a world class training program with her name is Ashley Gordon. If anyone is interested in getting several different certifications in coaching, she is your go to person. Her coaching program is immaculate. And I call myself a quantum coach because I really coach energy. A lot of people are like, well, what do you coach? And I'm like, well, if I can coach energy, I can coach anything because really, everything at an energetic level is where things happen. So I also love playing in the quantum world where there's no space, there's no time. Like I feel like that's always something that we put limits on ourselves. Like, well, it can happen then, or it should happen, in a year from now when I have this or that. And like, I don't play in that world. I'm like, let's do it now. Let's figure out how to collapse time. And if you can think about it, it's already happening. So let's just do it.
I love it. I love it so much. That's funny too, because I just came off of a retreat as well in Oregon. And one of the big things that came up was how many times do we tell ourselves, well, when this happens, I'll do this? And it's like, what if you didn't wait? What if you start doing that now? What if you showed up as if it was already happening and it was already real and it was already truth? How would that change your life? And so many times we put ourselves in this box like, oh, well, we have to wait for this to happen in order to do this. And from an energetic perspective, that's not always the case, right?
100%. Like it's easier said than done, right? We know that energetically we're holding on to old stories, we're holding on to trauma, we're holding on to something that is not allowing us to do that. So I love working at that deep energetic level, working with the body, working with the unconscious mind, because both of those things are really running the show for us.
Yeah.
And to help people really navigate that and like get change at a deep energetic level is where they get long-term change. So it's so much fun.
Love it. How did you get involved in this work?
That is always a funny story. The easiest and quickest answer is life. I feel like everything has just gravitated me to this calling. And if you're into like astrology or human design, like everything really is in my charts as well of just being in service. And there's always been something inside of me that whenever I hit my lowest points, I've had depression literally my entire life. And whenever I hit my lowest points, it always came back to like, why am I here? Like, what is my purpose? Like, I just don't feel an alignment. And at the time, I didn't really know what that meant, but like now I do. And I always thought it was going to be because I was supposed to help the world. Like, I wanted to go to developing countries and bring water or build houses, which that's still like in my timeline somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, but I really was able to transmute a lot of that pain, a lot of the trauma, a lot of abuse that I've endured, and really turned it into my purpose. And now all of the things that I lacked in my life, like love and support and sisterhood, like I bring that to community now. And it's like the most rewarding, incredible thing ever.
Yeah. So now you actually use your pain to find your fulfillment.
100%. I am so grateful for all of the things that I have survived through, endured, moved through, because it really is the light that ignites me, because I know what it's like to feel less than, unworthy, not important. And so to give that gift to people that have been in a similar place, like it really is my calling. Like it's been a magnet calling me to this work, and now I'm finally like stepping into it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to actually step in?
Well, I would say I was kind of forced into it a little bit.
Okay.
I was in like a really deep moment of healing. Like I was in that snowball. I finally like decided I'm going to be at the cause for my life. I'm going to get help. I'm going to figure this out. And I remember, getting into a little argument with the moon. I was walking outside meditating, and I always talk to the moon, and I was upset. I was like, I'm doing all the work. I can't connect to my angels. What is happening? Like, I need a sign. I need a sign so big that I know it's you, because I'm stubborn like that.
Yeah.
And a week later, I got laid off unexpectedly from my multiple six-figure comfortable job. And in that same time as I was losing my job, I was building a house with the company that I worked for. So not only did I lose my job, I lost my house that we were in the middle of building, which I was dreaming about every day. And in that moment, I was going through a lot of emotions, of course, like a lot of grief. Why is it me? Like, I should have been better. Like, what happened? And then in that moment, I was like, no, I asked for this. This was my sign. I had to be so aggressive. I asked for what I wanted, didn't I?
Yeah, your world had to be rocked.
It really did. It forced me into what I knew that I should have done, but it did it for me. And it was such a blessing. And it really turned into like a moment of rest. It really turned into a moment of disassociating my value with money and success and all of these external things that I had really numbed myself with, right? Like all of those things really gave me so much value because I was searching for this internal love and acceptance within. And that really was the propeller to finding my coaching program and leaning into it. And I started my coaching program at the beginning of this year. Okay. And I went all in on my business, like officially about 3 months ago. And it has literally quantum leaped. And when we talk about collapsing time and quantum leaping, when I tell people how much success I've had in 3 months with fully going in, people are like, how did you do that?
That's amazing. I mean, that's definitely manifesting generator energy without a doubt. Cause it's like when you're in it, you're in it. That's a super quick transformation. So when did you get laid off from your job last year?
I literally just hit my 1 year like 2 days ago.
Wow. Well, happy anniversary. I mean, that's actually pretty amazing thinking about like where you were a year ago to where you are today.
Totally. Like a year ago, I was like saging my office because the energy was just so debilitating to my mental health. I was so unhappy. Like the job I had gave so much joy at one point in my life, and something just turned. I was really burnt out, and I think I was hitting that wall again, right? That alignment where I thought getting this much money, I thought having all of these things were finally going to fulfill me. And when I finally got all of those things, I just burnt myself out because it really didn't give any fulfillment at all. I had some happiness. It was fun. I mean, I'm not going to, I'm not going to devalue what I created for myself, but in the same breath, it was something still missing.
Wow. That is a super quick transformation. Yeah. I'm like in awe just to know. I had no idea that it was really that recent. So that's amazing. And so how long was your program and how long? So you really went into your business 3 months ago, all in. So basically, when did you start your program officially?
So I enrolled in my program of like October of last year. It didn't start officially until January, but I was doing a lot of pre-work, a lot of the pre-education pieces. And then we finally had like our actual cohort start, and it was about 5 or 6 months. And during that time, I mean, I was like slowly building my business, but at the same time, I had never done it before.
Yeah.
No one in my family has ever been an entrepreneur. I had no resources to go to. I was terrified to show up on social media, which is shocking to people. Like, that was a big limiting belief that I had to work through. And it's funny because if people see my social media now, they're like, you're on it like every day. What do you mean you are afraid to post?
Right. No, I get it. I want to actually go back though, before we get too far ahead. I want to know, since it was around this time last year, what were the emotions, especially because you had a little bit of a gap, right? So you got laid off in October or around then, or September, and then October you joined the program. You knew it was coming. So from September to January, before, in that interim, what kind of emotions were you feeling? What was going on? Talk to me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster for sure. In the beginning, it's funny if I look at like old videos of what I was doing, like I was like singing in the car, like I don't have to go to work anymore. I have all this freedom. I'm so happy. And then I would hit like these low lows of like, well, I'm not working. I'm not producing. I'm not like doing something. And that was really where the big lesson of like, okay, I need to disassociate my value from what I can do, from working, from success, from like feeling like that was my identity, right? It was really like a big identity shift. And it was a lot of sleep. Like I was feeling really guilty. I slept for 3 weeks probably. Like I was exhausted.
Do you think that the sleep was depression, or was it exhaustion, or both? Or talk to me about that too.
Yeah, I think it definitely started with exhaustion. I was so burnt out. I was working so many hours. I was doing so many things by myself. I hadn't really ever taken a break before, because even when I was on vacation, like I would still be in work mode, like what's happening? Are the contracts getting signed? What's going on? You know, I never really had a moment of just like rest, of like, I don't have to do anything. I just can be. A little bit of it was some depression, because it is like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
what do I do all day? Like, what is happening? So it was definitely a whirlwind of emotions for sure. But all of it was such a blessing, because it gave me time and space to really go deep within, do a lot of soul work. I got to see my grandma, who I hadn't gotten to see in like 2 years, who is my absolute best friend. And that was a big awakening for me too, because I had allowed this job where they really didn't care about me. I was just a number. And I allowed that to be more important than seeing someone as important to me as my grandmother, who is 92 years old.
Wow.
So it was really a lot of emotions.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you go through a little bit of anxiety of the unknown, a little bit of guilt and shame, right? That's pretty natural, because then you start having all of these realizations. And then having to, like, learning to work through that and learn how to accept yourself, accept that you're human, accept that these things happen. And then also empower other people now to notice that before it's too late.
Yeah, 100%.
Freaking cool.
It really is. It's been such a dream. And that kind of goes back to like playing in the quantum world. Like literally anything can happen if you open yourself up to receive, and you release the things that are no longer serving you with so much love and gratitude, and take the lessons. You can change your life upside down in the most beautiful way in such a short amount of time.
Awesome. I got chills. That gave me chills. It feels good. It's like, it's a great reminder, and it brings hope and joy and excitement for what's to come. I won't be asking the moon or fighting with the moon anytime soon, though.
Oh, she's powerful. She is real.
No, seriously. I mean, 'cause I've heard that so many times, it's like that surrender prayer, even. It's like, okay, show me what you got. And then you're like, oh, crap. I don't know that I was ready for it. But are we ever ready for it?
I don't think we're ever fully ready for it. It's like, what is that saying? If you give God your plan, like he'll just laugh at you.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So since you brought up God, I want to talk about that for just a second. How do you correlate energy with God, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm religious.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very mixed emotion around religion and the church. I believe in what religion is meant to do. And I also believe that religion has been weaponized over the years. And so for me, I really believe in a higher power.
Yeah.
Whether that's the universe, whether that's God, whether that's angels, whether that's the placebo effect, whatever that is for you, I believe in that. And I always love meeting people where they are. If you believe in God, awesome, let's talk about it. If you believe in angels, beautiful, let's discuss it. So I believe that there is something. And I think that was a lot of the depression and a lot of the struggle that I had within when I had my spiritual kind of like awakening and my healing journey was I was really living in like spiritual poverty. Like I didn't really have anything that I necessarily could go to really like lean into and believe in, because I did have a really interesting relationship with the church and God specifically. And I wasn't really in the spiritual world yet where I'm like, oh, I can believe in like the moon. So I believe there is an energy out there. I think it's hard to believe that we're just like here and like how, like something happened. It was science. It was God. It was magic. I don't know, but I believe in something.
I love it. I love that explanation too. I always like to ask because so many people have different thoughts on it and different viewpoints, and I like to understand the perspective. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me more. Let's see. Do you want to tell me more about your year in previous, or do you want to tell me like your life story and how you got to all of this and went into the habits and even the workaholicism? Because it's like we all have stuff that gets us there, that lands us there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a long journey. If we go back to like upbringing and past and childhood, I have had a very long track record, if we're talking about habits, of numbing. So when I was young, I grew up in a household where my parents, they did their best. They unfortunately were unable to really give me the emotional maturity and love that I felt like I needed growing up. And so that really left me with not really understanding how to love or give love, receive love in a healthy way, and process emotions, which was like the biggest thing for me. And so as I got older, and of course things are hard and life happens and you have hormones and you're a kid and bullying happen. I mean, all kinds of things. And when you don't have a resource to really have your own internal value or know how to process what's happening externally, or have someone that you can go to that is trustworthy, that you love, it was really, really challenging for me. So I numbed in the very beginning with self-harm. And when I felt like that wasn't really for me, I kind of transmuted that into a very abusive relationship at a young age. It was like 14 or 15 for like 5 or 6 years, which was an interesting journey when you're in such a growth development stage in life. Like teenage years is like so pivotal. And to be in such an abusive emotional and physical relationship, it was hard. Yeah. And when I finally left that relationship and found the strength to finally leave, then I turned to drugs and alcohol to numb. And then I ended that. And then that turned into an eating disorder. And then I ended that. And then that turned into success. And what kind of I've been working through in this last year was, okay, well, if I can achieve more, if I can be the best, if I can get the best grades, if I can get the best job, if I can make more money, if I can buy the car, people are going to finally love me. And so all of my energy got fed into that, which is very unhealthy, right? Like there's a very fine balance between wanting to achieve through soul and wanting to achieve through ego. And I was absolutely going through that success hamster wheel with my ego. And that led to a lot of depression, and it led to a lot of me just doing more, and it was never enough. And that like habit cycle of like, well, if I do it again, if I make a little bit more money, if I make that extra sale, I'll finally fill this void. So it was a lot of numbing that's happened throughout my life. And now transitioning out of that, it's been a journey because I know what those old patterns are now, and I'm recognizing that and to not lean into that. Because, as you know, in entrepreneurship, when you're high, it can go just as low. You're like, oh my gosh, it's so hard. I don't know what to do. What can I numb with? Is it TV? Is it my phone scrolling? Is it, I don't want to do drugs and alcohol anymore? I've been down that road. That's not for me. And it really is making me face a lot of those shadows and say, I need to move through this. How do I do this in a healthy way and get through it to the other side quickly and efficiently too? Because I don't want to stay in this frequency.
Right. That's so powerful.
Thank you. It's been a journey.
That's real. I mean, it just, but it's true. How many times it's such a funny synchronicity, because I was thinking about ego this morning when I was getting ready, and I wasn't thinking it was going to come to this conversation, but it has. And maybe that's why it was on my mind, but also the numbing of just anything that we choose to numb, even if it's a habit that we think there's nothing wrong with, and how we create new habits in a healthier way to benefit us instead of to harm us or to numb us. And what is that fine line, and what is that that boundary that we can have? It's like, okay, well, we can watch TV, but do we limit it? Is it discipline? Like, what is it that actually takes it from being numbing to choosing it to provide us joy in that moment? Or like, is it okay to feel distraction when something is bothering you? What's the happy medium of feeling distraction and actually working through it?
Yeah, it is a hard discernment, especially if you're in it, right? If you
Yeah.
don't have the awareness yet. It's easy when you have the awareness. Shouldn't say easy. It's, you at least have that first step of awareness of like, okay, well, why am I doing this? But sometimes when you're in it, you're so disassociated from it even happening that you don't really know. Even if it's something easy like scrolling on your phone too long or watching too much TV. And one of the things that I remember hearing was, are you celebrating the same way that you are moving through something painful? So for drinking, for example, like, are you drinking every time you want to celebrate and, have a birthday, and also drinking every time you have that bad news that comes in, that you have something kind of deep that you need to process? Like, are you using those same coping mechanisms for both celebratory and moving through? And I think like everything's kind of the same, right? Like eating is a big one for people as well. Like, am I eating to celebrate because it's a birthday and it's great? And sure, I'm going to have, some extra food and I'm going to eat whatever. And am I also going to food when I'm feeling sad?
Yeah.
Same with like the TV or scrolling on your phone. Like, am I going to the TV because I'm just kind of tired and I just want to rest and I just need to decompress? And am I going to the TV because I'm feeling really sad and I just want to numb out? So it is like, how are you using those same modalities for both things? And if you are, I think that's a good indicator of like, okay, maybe I have some awareness now around it. That's what helped me, at least, of identifying the two.
Yeah. Oh, it's good stuff. I mean, I'm thinking about my own life because I've been watching I'm on a series, I'm watching a show lately, but I normally do not watch TV. And it just makes me think, because normally I fill my time with other things, or, I like to be more, like I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take time to journal. And I like to study and read and take I'm still doing those things. So I guess that's the understanding of, okay, well, those things are still happening. It's not like one is replacing the other, but why am I so comfortable watching TV? And right now it feels just kind of like it's a little bit more relaxing. I call it the nothing box.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't have to think about anything else. You just watch the show and, kind of relax. But what else could I be doing that would help me to also relax with maybe less stimulation even?
Yeah.
Because how many times do we watch? There's been times where I put TV on. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is giving me anxiety. I got to turn shit off, But there's like this, there's a switch. And a lot of times when you're so accustomed to watching TV, I'm sure that there's plenty of people that don't realize that. But energetically, I totally feel the difference. Or if I'm getting anxious more in that week, I'm like, maybe I'm watching too much TV.
Yeah.
But that's not something that I used to ever even consider.
Yeah, 100%. TV was definitely one that I numbed with a lot. As a kid, I was left alone a lot. So like TV was kind of like my best friend. And so that was something that I had to be very conscious of. Same with my phone, especially when I had no work or nothing to do. I caught myself for hours. I hate to admit this, but like hours, I would scroll on my phone and I would feel horrible, And I think that's the big thing. How do you feel after doing it? Do I feel like I just wasted a bunch of time and I'm unhappy and it's making me feel anxious and I'm feeling guilt and shame around it? Or am I doing it and I'm like, oh, I'm just resting. This feels really good. I had a long day. I just need some moment to not have to think.
Right. Okay. So, in all of these things that have happened in your life that have been so cyclical, right? Like you said, you went from one thing to the next thing. It was like one bad habit to another bad habit to another, right?
Yeah.
Or coping mechanism. Maybe we don't even call it a bad habit. So, when those things were happening, and now as you've become a coach and you've done a lot of work and energetic work for yourself and healing, what would you say now is the shift, or is it still cyclical in what you're doing and your work now, or how do you break that? What is the best or easiest way to break that habit of going into another cycle?
Sure. I think it's so like once you kind of identify what the cycle is, like I knew that the cycle was, when I felt X, I would do Y.
Mm-hmm.
And X would happen, I would go do Y. And I think the same thing's happening in the business, but it's now working for me, right? It's now been transmuted into something more positive and productive, where before it was more self-destructive. And I believe for me, it was really finding like an exit point. Like, what is the actual activator for me that's making me do X? So, for example, like I had a breakdown a couple of weeks ago. I had a really incredible moment in my business that was very activating for my nervous system. And so I retracted back and I was feeling really down. I was feeling really tired. I was feeling really emotional. And an old habit of mine would be just to shove it, ignore it, don't listen to it, don't cry, just keep it pushing and keep moving. That has not worked well for me. So right. That's something that I wanted to break. That's something that I need to move through and identify. And I saw myself going in that cycle because it's like, okay, this is something that's happened my entire life. And in that moment, instead of continuing to do that, I said, okay, I'm in this cycle. I know what's happening. This has happened a million times before. How do we break it? What do I need? And so I think that was the biggest question that I've learned to ask myself is, what do I need? I went outside. I grounded into the earth. I took my shoes off. I just laid in the grass with my dog. I was still crying. My nervous system was really, really activated. And I said, okay, what else do I need? Okay. Normally I would just shove it down and ignore it. I'm going to call somebody, which was so new for me. Like, I am not the person that's going to call you because I'm crying and I need somebody. I'm just going to deal with it.
Right.
And so I called somebody. No one was available. So then you're like, okay, now what do I need? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to go watch TV because I know that's something that I can numb with. So I don't want that to be my first answer, even though it's easy. I'm going to go take a bath. And I'm going to go read in the bathtub. And that's what I need. So that's what I did. I went upstairs and I drew the bath. I started reading a book. And then my friend called me, who I haven't heard from in forever. It's like the divine timing, right? Like I was doing all of these things, and then you start seeing these kind of like reward systems, right? Like I listened to what my body needed, and my friend called me. That's the reward system. So that's kind of what helps with the habit shifts and the changes, right? Is what is the activation piece to it? What is the reward system that I can attach to that? So then I can continue this habit over and over and over again. So it really is just identifying what that loop is. What is the activator? And then pivoting from that of like, what do I need?
Yeah. I love that. I love also that you chose things that required you to sit with yourself. Right? Because so many times we create this fullness in our life and this busy to keep us preoccupied, to numb. And we don't even realize we're doing it, especially as someone that's, used to constantly going after a target and working and working and working. And it's like, oh, another contract, another this, another that, another sale. What's going on? It's like our brain, and it's so easy. This is one of my loops. And I'm realizing that as we're chatting, because it's so easy to get caught up in that hamster wheel of just go, go, go. And it's like, you never remember to jump off, to sit with yourself and to be alone and to like, what do you need? And are you honoring that gift? And are you allowing yourself to receive in the process? Because it's a lesson, and you're not going to learn or see or acknowledge the lesson if you don't get quiet.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, a lot of the things that I work with my clients around is we are very conditioned to know what we don't want, right? Like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to cry. I don't want to numb. I don't want to do these things. And I think that's where that question comes into play is, what do I want? So then I can focus on what I do want. Okay, I want to lay in the grass. Okay, I want to call a friend to really have some support right now. Okay, I really need to just be relaxed and be in my space and just be alone. I need to get away from the stimulation. When you start asking what you want instead of what you don't want, it changes so much. And that goes not only for the self-talk that we have for ourselves, but it also ripples into the communication that we start to have with other people. You'll probably catch yourself. A lot of people will do. They're like, I tell people I don't want something, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want them to do that anymore a lot. And when you just start shifting it into what you do want, that's when the receiving comes, right? That's where you start shifting from lack to abundance.
I love that. That's such a nugget. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, because it's like, instead of saying I don't want to do that, then what do you want? And then make the suggestion, right? Well, let's go do this. How about this? It even feels different when you're asking for it or requesting, like, hey, it can still be in collaboration. It can still be together, but it feels and sounds so different.
It's the energy, right? When we talk about energetics, the energy is completely shifted. Especially, I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend about boundaries and her family, and she's going through a hard time, and setting boundaries specifically with this family member was really challenging for her. And it was really interesting because it's like, I know what you don't want. How would the conversation feel going into that, saying, this is what I'm requiring, this is my boundary? And she's like, that feels so different than saying, I don't want you to do this anymore, I don't want you to do that, my feelings were really hurt when you did this, so stop doing that. It's like the conversation is so different instead when you're like, I really need you to acknowledge and validate me when I'm feeling sad. I really need you to spend time with me when I come out and visit you. I really need these things. Not that boundaries are going to mean that they do it.
Right.
That's not what boundaries are. Boundaries are what you're tolerating and what you're going to allow yourself to deal with. And you remove yourself from the situation or whatever it looks like. But just the conversation is completely different. It goes from a negative into a positive.
Yeah. That's so powerful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
So good. What else you got? What else you want to talk about?
We could talk about I love talking with you, Teresa. This is so fun. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this.
I'm just sitting and taking it all in for a second. It's so true. And those energetics and the way that you speak, I had a mentor that always said, watch your words.
Mm.
And it changed my life because what we say and what we put out, even when we say, I don't want X, Y, Z. No, I do want this, or I am this. I am going to, this is happening for me.
Mhm.
This is happening as we speak. This is coming, it's on its way to me. And that's kind of going into like the manifestation world, right? But when we start living as if it's already the way that we desire, it really does change our lives.
It really does it. Our words are so powerful. What we say to ourselves is so powerful. What we say to others is so powerful. And when we think about the unconscious mind and how the unconscious mind works, the unconscious mind doesn't process negatives.
Mm-hmm.
So if you say, I don't want you to, what's a good one? This one's always my favorite. I don't want to be late.
Mm.
All your mind is hearing is, I want to be late. I want to be late. I want to be late. So if you can shift even small things like that into, I'm going to be on time, or I'm going to be early, you will see, like, subconsciously, your body will react differently because of that language shift, that you'll start to be on time more.
Ooh, this is where the brain is so cool to me, because it's like the way the brain has, like, we have our own navigating system, right? So it's like when we put those words out there, it's like our brain subconsciously automatically starts going towards whatever it is that we're thinking. That's why that is so important. And then it's just like, oh, it's like the reticular activating system, right? Is that what it's called? I think so. But when people are like, oh, well, for an example, I want a Bronco. I want a Ford Bronco. And then you start seeing Broncos everywhere on the road. Well, those Broncos have always been there. It's just now your brain subconsciously knows to look for them because it's there. You've embedded it in there, right? So even something as simple and like innocent as that, but our words are so important in the way we speak to ourselves.
They are. Can I share this fact with you? It's my favorite fact about the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
Like, when I learned this, like, everything shifted for me. So the unconscious mind, well, first of all, I'll preface with the unconscious mind and the body make up like 90% of what we're actually doing. It's habits, it's our nervous systems. 10% is like our conscious mind of us actually saying like, oh, I'm going to pick up this water. And so when we're thinking about the unconscious mind, 1.3 billion bits of information per second are being processed. So that's smell, that's sight, that's hearing, that's everything that's around us every second. Then our mind, our conscious mind, starts to process it, and it takes in about 123 bits of information, 123
out of billions.
And then our conscious mind will sort and distort everything and really retain only about 7 bits of information, plus or minus 2. That's why phone numbers back in the day were only 7 digits long, because scientifically that's really all that we can truly remember. And so what happens with all of that other information is we're still holding that. We're still storing that. That's still a part of everything that we're consuming. But our internal filters are filtering all of that information to really give us that 7 bits, right? So like the Bronco or being late or whatever it is. And so if we can rewire that filter system into what we really want, and language is such a key piece to really identifying what we want instead of what we don't want, that little shift in language can make such a huge difference in our perception of the entire world. That's why, like, have you ever been in the car with somebody and you guys are in the same drive, you're basically in the exact same spot, and they'll be like, oh, did you just see that? And you're like, no, what, like, where is it? I don't see it. Like, you're in the same car, you're going the same place, you're seeing the same view. That's because their internal representation system is identifying and looking at different things in you, because we're all different. We're all filtering based off of past traumas, memories, the time of day, if we're sick or not. I mean, all of these different things are filtering. So like, once I learned that, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a big impact. It really, we got to filter our minds to be thinking more positive.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily more positive, right? Because negative is just as beautiful as positive. I have a very neutral outlook on good, bad, positive, negative, and I think that's important too when you're really like wanting to change your entire life. Is it's not good or bad. It's what are the lessons in each of these things?
Right.
Because through the negative and through the bad actually is where a lot of the growth is happening. That's where a
Yep.
lot of the evolution is happening. It really is more so, how do I just filter everything so it's really directed to the life that I want? How am I changing this filter of my world so I don't feel like I have to fight for love because I never had that in my past? Now I can look at things and see like I love myself and that's all that really matters. And because I love myself, that energy and that frequency has become a magnet for other people that have come into my life. Like I went from feeling that type of way about myself, not really having the best friend groups, always attracting like, women that were very activated by me in a negative way where they projected a lot of their insecurities and their fears and a lot of anger towards me. And I internalized that like it was me. Now I've attracted women that are like, oh my gosh, you activate me, but like in the most positive way. I'm like, wait, you like me? Oh, hang on. Say more.
Yeah.
But really, when you have that energetic shift, nothing's changed. My house is the same. I drive the same car. I go to the same places. Nothing has changed, but everything else around me has naturally just changed to match my energy and match my frequency. And like that is the cool part. Like in business, the same thing. Like I could have believed like, oh, I just started my business this year, it's going to be a while until it's successful, it's just a part of the process. I can believe that to be true, or I can believe that my business is successful now. And in 3 months of me going all in, I've hit numbers in my business that some people haven't all year. So it's
Amazing.
It's just an energy shift. It's what do you want to believe to be true about yourself? And that will just naturally radiate off of you.
Yes. Oh, you can feel it too. It's like someone's aura, right? Like when they're in alignment and they're feeling good, like you feel it. Just like when they're not feeling good, you feel it.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
100%.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what you offer. I know you have a secret coming out soon, some secret project. So I won't make you talk about that, but how can people find you? Obviously, kellynoble.coaching is your handle for Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and let's talk about what are you offering? What's going on? I know you have a retreat coming up.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff. So you can follow me on social media. My DMs are always open just to connect. I love having conversations in DMs. So feel free to reach out there. I do one-on-one coaching as well. That's currently the easiest way to work with me. I have events that I do all of the time. Like, when is this being aired, Teresa?
I don't know exactly yet. We'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm always posting things on like Instagram about what I'm doing. Like I have a free full moon ceremony next week. I'm planning a in-person full moon ceremony in November. I have a retreat in Sedona in October. So I'm always doing things to be in the community and bring a lot of this healing, this work to the masses so it's accessible. One of my core values in working with people is healing has to be within community. We can do all of the internal work we want, and that's beautiful and it's important. And if we don't feel safety in other people to really be who we are, we won't really fully step into ourselves, because a lot of the things that have happened to us that have allowed us to dim our lights has been caused by other people, your family, your church, your sister, your neighbor, your friend, whatever. So I have events all of the time. And I also have a very secret surprise. So depending on when this is launched, I'm really excited. It's something that I have been dreaming about for 2 years. And with divine timing, it's just the right time right now to like really bring it into the world. So I'm so excited.
I can't wait to hear about it. I can't wait to support you. Keep us posted. Let me know. And if you're watching this Spill the Tea episode, definitely connect with Kelly. Kelly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate our conversation, and I'll catch you later.